Hey Central Online, I'm so glad that you are worshiping with us, and I hope you are having a wonderful day and a wonderful summer. My name is Aaron, and I have the honor of serving as the pastor here at Central, and today as your online pastor as well. Central is one church that meets in multiple locations, right here online, another location at Bethel Lutheran in New Auburn, and right here in beautiful downtown Chippewa Falls. So whether you are participating at Central Online or participate in person at one of our physical locations, if you are new or you have questions or would like us to be praying for you, all you have to do is visit central-lutheran.org/everyone's welcome and drop us a message there. Whether you have been around for a while or if this is your first time connecting with us, we just want you to know that you, yes, you are welcome here. We always say around here that everyone's welcome, nobody's perfect, and anything's possible. And we come together Wednesdays and Sundays to worship and to pray, to grow in our faith. And it says right there in Psalm 36, how priceless your faithful love is, God. People take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They are filled from the abundance of your house. You let them drink from your refreshing stream. For the wellspring of life is with you. By means of your light, we see light. I mean, how beautiful is that? We find love and refreshment, refuge, light, and life. Everything that we need, and I hope all that stirs in your heart as we reflect on that and as we worship together today. I cannot wait for this summer's Making Waves Vacation Bible School. Join us on August 9th and 10th, and if you are looking to volunteer, bring your kids or grandkids, it's completely free. So if you have any questions or want to get registered, simply go to central-lutheran.org and click on the Making Waves link. Vacation Bible School is just part of the many ministries here at Central. And everything we do here flows from our mission of helping people find and follow Jesus, to discover a relationship with Him, and to help people love and be loved and to find purpose and meaning. And one of the ways that makes our mission possible is through giving. So here's your invitation today. If you want to be a part of this and make a financial gift today, or to set up a reoccurring gift, you can download our downloadable app and you can give through that, or you can simply go to central-lutheran.org/give and give there. And part of what you give goes towards things like Vacation Bible School and Central Kids and Students, and providing these experiences like Luther Park Bible Camp. So today I am super excited because we begin a brand new series called Unplug, where we're going to look at, in the middle of this summer, how do we unplug and how do we stay away from our busyness in our life. This is going to be a great 4-week series, and we cannot wait to worship with you. Welcome to Worship Online. Question for you. If I were to say to you, how are you doing? If I were to see you on the street and ask you, hey, how are you doing? How's your summer going? How would you respond? I'm guessing that 99% of you would say, fine. You would have said fine 20, 30 years ago. But here's what I'm noticing today. If I ask, how are you doing? How do people respond generally today? You know how they respond because you said it. You probably said it today even. People say, I am so busy. I'm busy. I am busy. This summer is so busy. I can't believe it's already the second weekend of July. We are so busy. We don't even know where the summer has gone. I have so much going on, and the kids have so much going on that I spend almost every waking hour taxiing my children around from this to that. So much going on at work. There's so much going on with my grandkids. I am just so busy. And if you are retired and you are saying, oh, Pastor Aaron, that's not me, stop it. When I ask retired people, how are you doing, 99% of you tell me that you're busier today than when you were working. I mean, do you actually know what retired means? Or how about this? We have this thing in our pockets and in our purses, and we call them smartphones. But here's the deal. There is nothing smart about these things, people. They, in fact, are making our lives busier. We are just so busy. I mean, isn't that true? This series is called Unplugged because we believe that we have a God that didn't create us to be busy. God didn't create us for busy. In fact, if you look at John chapter 10 with me, verse 10, Jesus said it this way, I came that you may have life and have it busier. No, not even close. He said, I came that you may have life and have it abundantly. Or in the book of Matthew, he says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you more to do. Not even close. Jesus says, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. It's time for us to unplug, people. So over the next 4 weeks, and this is perfect timing because we are right smack dab in the middle of our summer, we are going to talk about how God invites us to unplug. And this week, we are going to talk about how do I unplug? And in order to get into answering that question of how do I really unplug, we need to answer a really interesting question. Here's the question. Do you think that it was easier to raise kids 30 years ago than today? I'm guessing 99.9% would answer 30 years ago was easier. Why do we say that? We say that because 30 years ago, there were a lot more restrictions on our life. For example, here's a funny example. There's this thing called the rotary phone, and it was attached to your wall. And if you wanted to make a phone call to that boyfriend or that girlfriend, the phone call had to start in the kitchen. And do you know where that phone call ended? In the kitchen. I mean, you could maybe walk around the kitchen, or you could run down to Radio Shack and get that 30-foot cord extension and hide in the closet when you talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend. But think about today. You can begin a phone call in the kitchen, and you can end that phone call at a grocery store that you drove to. You can end with a Zoom call, or you can text a person all night long. You know what the greatest challenge we face today is? The greatest challenge we face today is that we have too many choices. Too many great things that we have to choose from. How about this? When our family was in South Dakota last month, we stopped at the Sturgis Brewery. There were over 54 different beers that we could choose from that day. I had to find room for 54 growlers to bring home with me. Or when we went to our favorite restaurant, Hoo Hut, there are 16 different sauces to choose from and over 100 different combinations of sauces. Or right over here at our local Mexican restaurant, there are 10 pages of over 60 different entrees to choose from. People, we live in a day and an age where we have just way too many choices. This summer, my daughter is adamant that she learns how to wake surf behind our boat. So we went to our local sports store, and people, do you know how many different wake surfboards you have to choose from? From size, shape, color. They even have a board now that you can sit on and you hover over the water. Or how about this? How about sports? How many of you played sports back in the day? I played sports back in the day when there was an actually dedicated season for that sport. Remember that? I played basketball for, 11 to 13 weeks and then said, we're done with basketball. And the basketball went away and the baseball gloves came out. And by the end of June, after about 12 weeks of baseball, we would have our league championship game, and then we said, we're done. And when we said done, and some of you don't know what that means, but when we said done, it meant that you were actually done with that sport for the season, for the year. And if you went to the coach and said, Coach, I want to play more basketball, the coach would say, oh, sorry, we're done. But we have this season called track, and if you want to run track for a couple weeks, you could do that as well. See, when the season was over, it was done. But today, your kid can play any sport they want for 365 days of the year. They can play multiple sports at the same time, 365 days out of the year. They can also take music lessons every day. They can learn 16 different languages all before they graduate kindergarten. We have too many choices. And here's the thing, listen to me. They are all good choices. But here's the other thing about our unlimited choice. Unlimited choice allows us more freedom, but it also encroaches on our time. How is it then we learn to say no to some good things so that we can say yes to some better things? Or better yet, how do we unplug from some good things in order to say yes to better things? Well, in the book of Genesis, there's a really great story about this really dysfunctional family. There are these two brothers, Jacob and Esau. And even before they are born, the Bible recalls how they were already fighting in their mother's womb. Esau was the older brother, so he would receive the birthright. So he would essentially receive his father's legacy, his father's inheritance. He would likely get 2 times as much of the inheritance as his younger brother would. Now, of course, his younger brother was so jealous by this. And his younger brother and mom, they got in on this jealousy and they devised a plan and they ended up stealing Esau's birthright. They put Esau's shirt on Jacob, and Esau was a hairy man, so they covered him in animal skin, and their father was ailing and blind, so they brought Jacob over to his father in this costume, and they tricked their father, and the father gave the birthright to Jacob. Well, Esau would get home, and Esau would be furious. And he said, "The next time that I see my brother, that guy is dead. I'm going to kill him." So Jacob takes off and he heads north. Esau would move to the south. And many, many years would pass. And many years later, Jacob would receive word that his brother Esau was coming his way with some 300 men. And Jacob was rightfully nervous for his life. So he devises a plan to soften his brother's heart. He planned to give Esau a bunch of gifts. So he sends with his servants a whole bunch of livestock and food and crops. And they give this to Esau, who is on his way. And Esau says, "Wow, thank you." But he keeps marching toward Jacob. Finally, the day comes, Jacob and Esau are face to face, and Jacob is terrified. And he kneels down before his brother, and that is when Esau does the unthinkable. He looks at Jacob and says, "Brother, it has been way too long. I brought all these men because I want you all to come with me. I want you to move in with me, Jacob. I brought all these men so that we can help you move. The tiff is over. I want it to be over. Come and live with me." Now, I don't know about you, but if I were Jacob, I would have been like, "Sure, sounds good. Sounds good. Brother, when are we leaving?" But it's interesting how Jacob responds. I mean, check this out in Genesis chapter 33. But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are tender and that I must care for the ewes and the cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant, while I'll move along slowly at a pace of the flocks and herds before me and the pace of the children until I come to my Lord in Seir." See, they hadn't seen each other for years. And they have to introduce their families and those that work for them to each other's family. And I think what he says is, "Hey, listen, Esau, I can't wait to live with you and your family. See, Esau, I'm in a different season of life. I'm married. I've got kids. So I'm moving at a different pace than you." Similar to when there used to be different seasons in sports, there are different seasons in our lives, right? Some of you right now are in a season where you are not married and you don't have kids, and it's pretty great, and I look at you and I'm actually jealous, right? But then some of you are married with no kids, and all of a sudden you are sort of responsible to another human being. So there is a different pace to life. Some of you are married and you have kids, and that's a whole other season with a whole different pace. Some of you are retired, empty nesters. That's a different season. Some of you have separated and are divorced, and you have all the responsibility but no longer the helper, and it's a total different pace of life. And some of you are widowed, And now you find yourself back to being single with kids or with adult kids or with grandkids. Here's my problem. Most of the time, I'm married with kids, and I oftentimes act as though I'm in that season where I'm not married and I don't have kids, where I see all these things I can do around me and I want to do them all now. I mean, don't we all do this sometimes? But here's the truth. Here's what God wanted for Jacob, and here's what God wants for you and for me. God wanted to give God's people healthy life pace, and God wants the same for you. Now, this message today is actually super personal for me. I need to admit something. I, as an individual and as a parent, fall into a trap every single day. A trap that probably 99% of us fall into or have fallen into. And the trap is this: busyness. We live in a culture today where people, families, and parents wear busyness as a badge of honor, where how busy we are determines our value and our worth. If you don't believe me, then why on earth do we need to have the urge to share with the world everything that we are doing, or better yet, everything that we have gotten our kids into? See, I do this all the time. Or what about those of you who are workaholics? I have found that workaholic is the only addiction in our society that is complimented. Other addictions have support groups and programs to help people cure the addiction, right? But if you are a workaholic, what do people say? They say, way to go, great job, thank you for being so committed to the vision and the mission of this company. I have an analogy that has helped me think this through. And I want to share it with you today so that you can think about a healthy pace in life that God wants for us. I have with me kind of a power strip right here, a power strip. And I want you to imagine that this power strip right here, this one with 6 of these outlets, is you and it's me. That God has created you and me with a few outlets so that we can do things in this world, right? I think this is a great analogy for how often Christians spiritualize busyness. Now, I've also brought with me this extension cord. And oftentimes we believe that God is our strength. And with God, I can do all things who strengthen me. So we plug our lives into the source, into the power. And we look at our lives and we say, we have all of these outlets. We say, hey, my kid is good at soccer. He's a good soccer player. So we're going to get him signed up for maybe 2 or 3 camps this summer. That should be good enough. Oh, but wait. They are showing some promise, right? So we'll sign them up for fall and spring league that will have a couple practices a week and a couple games on the weekend and only 3 tournaments that will be all over the state. We can do that, right? Then my other son is also good at basketball. So we're going to get him on a traveling team, which again will take us over an 80-mile radius. And then we better get him into a basketball camp or 2. But hey, he's also really good at music, so we'll get him to some trumpet lessons and some band lessons. Our daughter wants to play orchestra, so we'll get her into violin lessons. Oh yeah, and she loves to sing, so let's throw in some singing lessons. And heaven forbid that our kids get bored. We have to keep them busy. Oh yeah, and gas. Gas today is about $100 a gallon, so we don't know how we're going to afford this. So hey, honey, I bet my wife can get a side gig. She can make some cakes or take some pictures. We do this all the time, right? It's like we take the one plug in with the 4-6 outlets that God has given us, and we say, you know what, God? I'm going to be faithful. So I'm going to take another power strip that's going to give me 6 more outlets, and I'm going to plug it in right here, just like this. And what's going to happen? The neighbors will pull up with a brand new wake surfing boat. And I'll turn to my wife and I'll say, hey, honey, we need one of those boats. And my wife will look at me and say, 1, Aaron, we don't live on a lake. And 2, honey, none of us really wake surf. And I'll say, yeah, but it's for the family. It's for the family. It'll bring us all together. And she'll say, yeah, but how can we afford it? And I'll say, I'll just make more money. It's just money. You can bake more cakes. You can take more pictures. You can get another side hustle gig. We do this all the time, right? So what we'll do then is we'll take another power strip like this, another one, and we'll plug it into this one. Like God gave me 6 outlets, but look, I can keep adding on. We can get a lake cabin. Sure we can. Let's flip a house. Let's get a puppy. Let's keep adding and adding on. Hunting land. Psh, you bet. And we go to God. Hey, God, look how faithful I am. You gave me 6 outlets. Now I have 12 more outlets. And then what happens is we start to get stressed out. Then we start to get moody. And we wonder what's going on. And you know what is going on. You start to believe, I can do more than God created me to do. We start to believe that, well, God, you only gave me 6 outlets. I can turn that 6 into 12. And before we know it, we wake up and we start hating the minivan or the Suburban. We start hating those kids that we love, and we hate running to tournaments every single weekend. We start to get cranky, crabby, and strung out and distracted every time. And we start to wonder, how can we stop? Well, there's a way. And it's really simple, but it's really hard. To stop, you simply do this. You unplug. You unplug and you say, no. No. Honey, I know you love swimming, but you're scared of the water. You're not going to be a D1 swimmer anyways, so you're not going to that camp. No, we're not going to get that surfboat. We unplug and we remember that we have a God who designed us with limits. Yes, God wants us to live to our potential, but He has also designed us to live with limits. Do you know who really gets this? Millennials. See, millennials get a bad rap in our society all the time. Millennials are called a lazy generation way too often. But do you know what? Do you know how often I see millennial guys pushing the strollers of their children around the park? Millennials seem to care so much about this thing called relationships that I think they are better than some of us at prioritizing it in life. Before I got this call, and really before we had 3 children, I raced mountain bikes, and I raced the American Birkebeiner cross-country ski race. In fact, I skied 17 Birkies. And the furthest I bike now is to the ice cream shop. When I was skiing and biking, I was tuned in. I was younger. Now, when I try to get back into it, I notice that I have to dial back the expectations. I have to tone it down a bit, because if it's too much too quick, I can get hurt and I can get sick. Why? Because God created us with limits. You have a God who knows you and what you're going through right now. God knows how busy you are. In fact, God says this in Psalm 139, 1-3. God says, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. The psalmist goes on to say, God, you discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all of my ways. I don't know what season you are in right now, but I'm guessing there are moments where you feel strung out or burnt out, where you feel like you are just burning the candle at both ends. I don't think there is one of us that isn't distracted these days, and here's what I think. God wants you to know that simply saying no isn't a sin. In fact, I would argue that just saying no might be the holiest and healthiest thing you will ever do. The authors of the Bible use the word busy just 6 times. And it's always used as a negative connotation. And get this, the Sabbath, that word Sabbath, it's a biblical word for stopping work for 1 day out of the week. That word is used 154 times. And the word rest is used 508 times in the Bible. Why? Because God wanted to give God's people a healthy life pace, and God wants the same for you. God's grace, God's peace, and God's love be with all of you, and all of God's children said,